The first time I heard my mother's voice, I was already awake. That's the part that still bothers me most. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't half asleep. I was fully awake. I know the difference now. Because if I had been dreaming, I could have explained it. This happened in Columbus, Ohio, USA. November 2023. My mother had been gone for 6 years. Cancer. Slow. Cruel. Certain. By the end, her voice had changed. It became softer. Thinner somehow. Like every word cost energy. But no matter how weak she became, she always called me the same way. Never shouted. Never raised her voice. She would just say my name once. Quietly. And somehow I always heard it. That voice stayed with me after she died. Not in a strange way. Just memory. The kind that appears when a room is quiet enough. I lived alone then. Small rental house. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. Old wood floors that creaked when the weather changed. Nothing special. Nothing haunted. Nothing dramatic. The kind of place people forget as soon as they leave it. That night, rain was tapping against the windows. Light rain. Barely there. The sort of sound that makes a house feel closed off from the world. I had work in the morning, so I went to bed early. But I couldn't sleep. No reason. Just one of those restless nights where your body is tired and your mind refuses to follow. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Watching faint shadows move when car lights passed outside. Listening to the refrigerator hum from the kitchen. Counting seconds between drops of rain hitting the gutter. Then I heard her. My name. Softly. From the hallway. Exactly the way she used to say it. Not louder. Not different. Perfectly the same. Every muscle in my body locked. I didn't sit up. Didn't breathe. I just listened. Maybe it was the house. Maybe a pipe. Maybe my brain pulling old sounds from memory. I wanted any answer except the real one. Then it came again. My name. A little closer this time. From just outside my bedroom door. I sat up so fast the blanket slid to the floor. The room was dark except for the digital clock on my dresser. 2:41 a.m. The hallway beyond the door was black. No movement. No light. No shape standing there. I stared at the doorway until my eyes watered. Nothing. Then, very gently, the floorboard outside my room creaked. 1 step. Then silence. Our old house used to creak like that when my mother walked to the kitchen at night. I knew the sound. That careful shift of weight. That pause afterward. I swung my legs off the bed. My feet touched the cold floor. I hated how loud my own breathing sounded. Hello? My voice came out thin. Uncertain. No answer. I reached for the lamp and turned it on. Warm light filled the room instantly. Everything became ordinary again. Bed. Chair. Dresser. Closed closet door. The hallway was empty. I stood and walked to the bedroom door. Slowly. Like moving too fast might reveal something I wasn't ready to see. I looked left. Nothing. I looked right. Nothing. Just the hallway. Family photos on the wall. Coat hook near the front door. A pair of shoes I forgot to move. Still something felt wrong. Not because I saw anything. Because the house felt attentive. Like it was listening to me now. I checked every room. Bathroom. Kitchen. Guest room. No open windows. No intruder. No explanation. I even looked outside through the blinds. Wet street. Empty driveway. Rain under the porch light. No one there. When I got back to bed, I left every light on. Bedroom. Hallway. Kitchen. I told myself that was ridiculous. Then I left them on anyway. I didn't sleep much after that. Every little sound pulled me awake again. The fridge. The pipes. The rain. Everything sounded like the beginning of something else. Morning made it feel stupid. That's how fear works sometimes. It survives the night and dies in daylight. Standing in my kitchen with coffee in my hand, I almost laughed at myself. I was tired. That was all. Grief does strange things. Memory does stranger things. I nearly believed that. Until I noticed something near the front door. Mud. A single wet footprint on the floorboards. Small. Narrow. Barefoot. And facing inward. I stood there for a long time, staring at the footprint. Coffee still in my hand. Steam rising. My fingers numb around the mug. It was real. That was the first thought that came to me. Not the voice. Not the hallway. The footprint. Because fear can be argued with. You can blame exhaustion. Stress. Memory. But mud on the floor is harder to explain. I crouched down beside it. Slowly. Like getting closer might change what I was seeing. It was smaller than my foot. Too narrow to be mine. The heel was clear. 5 faint toe marks at the top. Barefoot. Wet. Fresh. I looked at the front door immediately. Still locked. Chain in place. No damage. No sign anyone had entered. I checked the windows next. All closed. All latched. Rain slid down the glass in thin lines. The porch outside was empty. I turned back to the print. It was still there. Silent. Waiting to be understood. Then I noticed something worse. There wasn't just one. A second footprint, lighter than the first, was farther down the hall. Almost faded. Then another. And another. A trail. Leading deeper into the house. My throat tightened. I followed them with my eyes. Across the hallway. Past the bathroom. Toward my bedroom. The last print stopped just outside my door. Exactly where I had heard the voice. I didn't move. Didn't blink. I just stood there, listening to the rain and the pounding in my chest. Then common sense finally returned. I grabbed my phone and took pictures. Several. From different angles. With flash. Without flash. The camera made them look smaller. Less real. That somehow made it worse. I sent one picture to my friend Marcus. No message. Just the image. He replied a minute later. What is that? I typed. I think someone was in my house. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then came back. Call the police. I should have. I know that now. But I didn't. Because some part of me already knew this wasn't that simple. A stranger leaves signs. Noise. Damage. Something missing. Nothing was missing. Nothing disturbed. Only the prints. And the voice. I spent the rest of the morning cleaning the floor. Not because I wanted it clean. Because I wanted the prints gone. I used paper towels first. Then soap. Then hot water. The mud smeared easily. Too easily. like it had never dried at all. When I finished, I stood in the hallway breathing hard. The floorboards looked normal again. But the house didn't. Every room felt slightly unfamiliar now. As if something had entered while I slept and left a layer I couldn't see. I called in sick to work. Said I had a fever. My voice sounded convincing because I barely recognized it myself. The day moved slowly. I kept every light on, even with the sun out. I played music in the kitchen, then turned it off. It felt rude somehow. By afternoon I was angry. At myself. At the house. At whatever memory had crawled into the night wearing my mother's voice. So I made a decision. I would prove it was nothing. That evening, I bought a small indoor camera from a store near my office. Cheap plastic model. Motion detection. Night vision. Enough to catch a sleepwalking version of me or a rat or whatever explanation I needed. I placed it on a shelf in the hallway facing my bedroom door. I tested the angle 3 times. Doorway centered. Hall visible. Front entrance in the corner of the frame. Then I waited for dark. Rain returned just after sunset. Steady as before. Almost familiar now. I heated soup I didn't want. Checked the camera app twice. Then 5 more times. At 10:30, I went to bed. Lights off this time. I wanted the room normal. I wanted to act normal. But I left the hallway light on. Its pale glow stretched across my bedroom floor and stopped just short of the bed. I lay there watching that strip of light. Listening. Waiting. Midnight passed. Then 1 o'clock. Then 2. Nothing. I started to drift. Not asleep. Just floating near it. Then the hallway light went out. No click. No flicker. Just darkness. My eyes opened fully. I pushed myself up on my elbows. The doorway was black now. Empty. Then, from the hall very softly, my mother said my name again. I couldn't move. That soft voice from the hallway held me in place more than fear ever could. If it had sounded wrong, if it had sounded fake, I think I would have run. But it didn't. That was the worst part. It sounded tired. Warm. Familiar. Exactly the way she sounded near the end, when every word came gently. My name. Just once. Quietly. I sat there in the dark, gripping the blanket so hard my fingers hurt. Then I heard the floorboard outside my room. A careful creak. 1 step. Then another. Slowly moving past the doorway. Not entering. Not leaving. Just pacing the hall. Back and forth. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. My hand was shaking so badly I nearly knocked it to the floor. The screen lit my face in cold blue light. 2:43 a.m. I opened the camera app. The loading circle spun once. Twice. Then the live feed appeared. The hallway was empty. My bedroom door. The wall. The front entrance. Nothing else. But through the phone speaker I could still hear the floorboard creaking outside my room. 1 step. Pause. 1 step. I looked from the screen to the dark doorway. Then back to the screen. Still empty. The sound continued. But nothing was there. A cold feeling spread through my arms. Then the camera image glitched. Just for a second. A quick distortion. Lines across the screen. Static. And when it cleared, someone was standing in the hallway. I dropped the phone onto the bed. By the time I grabbed it again, the feed was normal. Empty hallway. Nothing there. My breathing turned shallow. Fast. I replayed the last 10 seconds from the app. Hands trembling. The recording loaded. The hallway stood empty. Then static. Then one frame. Only one. A woman in a pale nightgown. Head tilted slightly down. Hair hanging over part of her face. Standing inches from my bedroom door. Then empty again. I stared at the frozen frame until my eyes watered. The shape was wrong. The gown was wrong. The posture was wrong. But the height, the shoulders, the way one hand rested against the wall, that felt horribly familiar. I heard my name again. This time from the doorway itself. Not the hall. The doorway. I looked up so fast my neck hurt. Nothing there. Only darkness. Then a soft tap came from the wood of the door frame. Tap. Another. Tap. Like a fingernail. I slid backward across the bed until my shoulders hit the wall. The tapping moved lower. Along the frame. Slowly dragging down the wood. Then it stopped at the height of the mattress. I knew, with a certainty that made me feel sick, that if I leaned forward something would be waiting just beyond the edge of the bed. So I stayed still. Perfectly still. Minutes passed. Or maybe seconds. It's hard to know now. The rain outside grew heavier. Water struck the windows in waves. The whole house seemed to breathe with it. Then the voice changed. Still my mother. Still soft. But closer now. Right beside my bed. Open the door. I stared at my closed bedroom door across the room, trying to understand what I had heard. The door was already open. Wide open. There was nothing to open. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. Because if the voice was asking me to open a door, it wasn't talking about the bedroom door. It was talking about something else. Something in the room with me. Then the closet handle began to turn. The closet handle turned slowly. Not shaking. Not rattling. Just a calm, careful movement. Like someone on the other side didn't want to be heard. I stared at it without blinking. The small metal knob caught a little light from my phone screen. A dull reflection. Turning inch by inch. Then it stopped. The room went silent again. No rain. No floorboards. No breathing. Even the house felt paused. I realized I was holding my breath. I let it out slowly through my nose. The knob turned back the other way. A tiny click. Unlocked. I nearly dropped the phone again. That closet didn't lock. It never had. I knew that because I had complained about it when I moved in. The landlord laughed and said the old hardware was just for show. No latch. No key. Nothing inside. But I had just heard a lock open. Then my mother spoke again. From inside the closet. My name. Softly. Tired. Patient. I felt tears sting my eyes before I even understood why. Grief is dangerous like that. It can reach for what hurts you most and make it feel comforting. For one terrible second I wanted to open it. I wanted to hear her again. Just one more time. Then something struck me harder than fear. My mother had never been inside this house. Not once. She died before I ever moved there. Whatever knew her voice was not her. The closet door shifted inward. Barely an inch. A thin line of darkness opened between the doors. Darker than the room around it. No light inside. No shape. Just depth. The smell reached me next. Cold air. Wet fabric. And something faint beneath it. Hospital soap. My stomach turned. That scent hit a memory so fast it made my chest ache. Long hallways. Machines. White sheets. Her final week. I slid off the bed on the far side, never taking my eyes off the closet. My feet touched the floor softly. The door opened another inch. Then stopped. Like it knew I had moved. I backed toward the bedroom exit. Step by step. Slow enough not to make the floor creak. My phone flashlight shook across the walls. The beam crossed the closet gap for half a second. I saw nothing inside. No shelves. No coats. No back wall. Just black space. Far deeper than the closet should have been. I reached the doorway and nearly ran into the hall. But something made me stop. The camera. It was still on the shelf outside my room. Still recording. If I left now, I needed proof. Something real enough to look at in daylight. I stepped into the hallway and grabbed it. Hand shaking. Behind me, from inside the bedroom, I heard the closet door open wider. Wood sliding softly on carpet. I didn't turn around. I backed down the hall until I reached the kitchen. Then I switched on every light I could reach. Ceiling light. Stove light. Dining lamp. Warm light flooded the room. My breathing slowly returned. I kept my eyes on the dark hallway entrance. Waiting for movement. Waiting for her voice. Nothing came. Minutes passed. Then 20. Then maybe 40. I stayed at the kitchen table with a knife beside me, feeling ridiculous and terrified at the same time. Eventually the sky outside began to pale. Morning. Birds started somewhere beyond the rain. The ordinary world returning. I almost laughed from relief. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from the camera app. Motion detected. Bedroom. Timestamp. 2:51 a.m. I opened the clip immediately. The hallway was empty. My bedroom door stood open. The closet inside was open wide. Too dark to see into. Nothing moved for several seconds. Then, slowly someone stepped out of the closet. A woman in a pale gown. Bare feet. Head lowered. She paused in the doorway of my room. Turned toward the camera. And lifted her face. It wasn't my mother. But it was wearing her smile. I dropped the phone onto the kitchen table so hard it bounced. The screen spun once, still playing the clip. That smiling face flashed past again before it stopped. I turned it face down immediately. My hands were shaking too badly to do anything else. It wasn't my mother. I knew that. I knew it the moment I saw her. But some cruel part of my mind had still reacted first. That old instinct. That hope. For half a second, I had wanted it to be her. That frightened me more than the video. Because whatever was in the house had understood something about me. Something private. Something buried. It knew grief could open doors fear never could. Morning light filled the kitchen slowly. Grey and thin through the rain. The room looked harmless again. Cheap table. Wet window. Unwashed dishes in the sink. Normal things. I clung to them. Then I made another mistake. I watched the clip again. This time frame by frame. The woman stepped from the closet with an odd stiffness, like she was learning how to move while already in motion. 1 foot forward. Pause. Shoulders adjusting. Head lifting too late. Like a person copying what a person should look like. Then she turned toward the camera. The smile came before the face did. That was the part one can still see clearly. Her mouth widened first. Then the rest of her expression followed. Wrong order. Wrong timing. When the clip ended, the app generated a still image preview. I nearly missed what was in it. At the very bottom of the frame, inside my bedroom doorway, something else. A hand. Wrapped around the edge of the doorframe from the inside. Long fingers. Pale knuckles. Holding still. Watching the woman walk out. I stopped breathing. There had been two of them. Or one thing pretending twice. I grabbed my keys and left the house before I could think. No shower. No bag. No plan. I drove to Marcus's apartment across town. The rain followed the whole way. Steady. Unbroken. He opened the door still wearing sweatpants and looked at my face for 1 second before stepping aside. What happened? He asked. I handed him the phone. Couldn't explain it yet. He watched the clip in silence. Then watched it again. Then set the phone on the couch between us. That's not funny, he said. I know. Who was in your house? I don't know. He looked at me for a long moment. Then asked the question I had been avoiding. Why does it sound like your mom? I had no answer for that. We went back together just after noon. Brightest part of the day. No shadows. No excuses. The front door was still locked. The chain still set exactly where I left it. Inside, the house smelled normal again. Dust. Coffee. Rain through old wood. No hospital scent. No cold air. Marcus checked every room first. Closets. Bathroom. Under beds. Even the attic hatch in the hallway ceiling. Nothing. I stayed near the kitchen. I didn't want to see the bedroom yet. Finally he called out, "You need to look at this." His voice had changed. Quieter. I walked down the hall slowly. The camera was still on the shelf. Facing my bedroom. Exactly where I left it. The closet door inside my room was closed again. But that wasn't what he meant. He was pointing at the wall beside my bedroom door. Thin lines marked the paint. Fresh scratches. 5 of them. Vertical. Too straight to be accidental. They began high near the top of the frame and dragged downward to the floor. As if something had stood there in the night and slowly lowered its hand. Marcus touched one lightly. The paint crumbled under his finger. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then, from inside the closed closet, very softly, my mother said my name again. Neither of us moved. That soft voice from inside the closet seemed to drain the air from the room. My name. Quiet. Patient. Impossible. Marcus slowly turned to look at me. I could see the question in his face. He had heard it too. That mattered more than anything. It wasn't grief. It wasn't exhaustion. It wasn't only in my head. The closet door gave a small sound. A faint wooden shift. Then silence. Marcus stepped in front of me without saying anything. He grabbed a baseball bat from the corner near my desk. I had forgotten it was there. "You stay back," he whispered. I almost laughed at that. There was nowhere in that room that felt far enough back. He moved toward the closet slowly. Bat raised. Eyes fixed on the handle. Every floorboard sounded too loud under his feet. Each step felt like permission. When he reached the door, he paused. Looked at me once. Then pulled it open. The closet was empty. Clothes hanging still. Shoes on the floor. Storage boxes on the top shelf. Nothing else. Marcus let out a breath. I didn't. Because the room had turned cold again. Not the closet. The whole room. The kind of cold that doesn't belong to weather. Then the bedroom door behind us clicked shut. Both of us spun around. The door was closed. Fully closed. Neither of us had touched it. Marcus crossed the room and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't move. He pulled harder. Nothing. It's stuck, he said. But his voice had lost confidence. He slammed his shoulder into it once. Twice. The frame shook. The latch held. Then came a sound from behind us. Fabric shifting. We turned together. The hanging clothes inside the closet were moving. Slowly swaying though no air was blowing. Something was behind them. Moving carefully. A pale hand slid between two jackets and gripped the door frame. Long fingers. White knuckles. The same hand from the camera still image. I backed into the wall so hard a picture frame fell beside me. Glass shattered across the floor. Marcus raised the bat with both hands. "Come out!" he shouted. The room went silent. Even the rain outside seemed to disappear. Then my mother answered from inside the closet. "Why did you leave me there?" My knees nearly gave out. Those were her words. Not just her voice. The exact sentence she whispered in the hospital when I stepped out to call the nurse. A moment no one else had heard. No one. Marcus looked back at me, terrified now. He knew this was beyond him. Beyond both of us. The clothes parted slightly. Not enough to reveal a body. Just darkness behind them. Depth where the back wall should have been. And two eyes opening inside it. Too far apart. Too still. Reflecting no light at all. Marcus swung the bat with everything he had. It passed through the hanging clothes and struck the back wall with a hard crack. The room jolted. Boxes fell from the top shelf. The light bulb overhead burst. Darkness swallowed everything. I heard Marcus shout. Then the closet door slammed shut on its own. The bedroom door flew open at the same time. Hall light spilling in. We ran. Neither of us spoke. We just ran out of the room, out of the house, into the rain. We stood in the driveway gasping like we had surfaced from deep water. The front windows were dark behind us. Still. Then, in my bedroom window a figure appeared behind the glass. A woman in a pale gown. Head tilted slightly down. Smiling. Marcus saw it too. He grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. We left and never went back. I lost the deposit. Most of my furniture. Everything in that closet. I didn't care. Marcus never joked about ghosts again. We rarely talked about that night at all. Some things feel dangerous even as memories. Months later, he sent me a message at 2:43 a.m. Only one sentence. "Did your mom ever sing in the kitchen while cooking?" My hands went cold reading it. Because she did. Every Sunday. Same song. Always under her breath. I called him immediately. No answer. I drove to his apartment before sunrise. His front door was unlocked. The place was empty. Phone on the table. Shoes by the couch. Keys in the bowl by the door. And from somewhere deep inside the apartment very softly I heard my name.